Welcome to Golden Bachelor. If you love celebrity news and real entertainment updates, you're in the right place. The Golden Bachelor finale wasn't supposed to feel like this. People expected roses, nostalgia, maybe a few emotional toasts and sweet moments. What they didn't expect was the quiet electricity that comes from two people who once loved deeply, now walking into the same room from opposite sides of their separate futures. Gerry Turner and Theresa Nist. Their love story once wrapped the entire country in a warm blanket of hope. They stood as living proof that love can bloom at any age, that romance doesn't fade with time, and that a single spark can rearrange your entire world. But tonight was different. They had agreed to attend the finale under one very specific condition. They wanted separate spaces, separate seating, separate comfort zones, not out of anger, but out of peace, out of respect for where they are now, out of the understanding that sometimes the kindest thing two people can do for each other is simply give each other space. The production team treated this arrangement with the seriousness of a diplomatic summit. Separate entrances, separate waiting rooms, no overlapping camera angles. You would think someone was guarding a rare artifact, not two adults who have already survived the biggest emotional roller coaster of their lives. But beneath all that planning, beneath the logistics and the behind-the-scenes whispering, was a simple human truth. Sometimes, two hearts that once beat together need a little distance to beat comfortably again. And the moment they arrived, you could feel it. Theresa walked in first, glowing the way she always did. Not staged, not forced, just naturally radiant. She carried herself with the grace of someone who has learned, grown, and discovered her own strength. She wasn't hiding in the shadows. She wasn't nervous. She was present, calm, confident, ready to enjoy the night in her own way. Gerry arrived not long after, and the air shifted again, not in a dramatic way, not with tension or discomfort, but with quiet recognition. Two people who once shared a life chapter had entered the same room for the first time in months. But instead of awkwardness, there was something softer, almost like standing in a room where a song you once loved starts playing in the background. A little nostalgic, a little bittersweet, a little warm. What came next was almost humorous. Production crew members practically moonwalked between their designated areas, double-checking seating charts as if one accidental chair placement could spark a cosmic event. You could almost imagine one of them whispering, "Okay, everyone, nobody breathe too loudly." But their precautions weren't insulting. They were thoughtful, gentle. They simply wanted both individuals to feel safe, comfortable, and free to enjoy the evening without emotional overwhelm. And it worked. Theresa settled into her spot, chatting warmly with people around her. She had that familiar spark, the kind that comes from rediscovering joy. She laughed, she smiled, she engaged in conversations with the same charm that made viewers fall in love with her in the first place. She wasn't just attending an event, she was living in the moment. Gerry, sitting beside his fiancée, looked equally at ease. He seemed content, steady, relaxed. There was no heavy air around him, no storm clouds hovering, just a man who has moved forward, accepted his past, and embraced his present. If you didn't know their history, you would never guess that any emotional complexity existed at all. They carried themselves with maturity, grace, and a shared silent promise to keep things peaceful. And that's the part the cameras rarely capture. The quiet growth, the emotional evolution, the way two people can separate without shattering, the way love, even if it changes shape, can still leave behind gratitude. Their story wasn't a fairy tale ending, but not every love story has to be. Some are meant to be chapters, not full novels. Some are meant to teach us something before letting us go. As the finale carried on, it became clear that this wasn't a night about tension. It was a night about closure, but in the softest possible way. You could see it in the way Theresa smiled freely, as if she had reclaimed a piece of herself. You could see it in the way Gerry sat comfortably, present and peaceful. You could see it in the way neither of them avoided the other with panic or fear. They simply existed, side by side, in the same universe, without needing to collide. There is something incredibly human about that. Because closure isn't always a dramatic conversation. It's not always a long speech or a final apology. Sometimes closure looks like two people calmly coexisting. Two people breathing the same air without discomfort. Two people who can be in the same room and feel okay, truly okay. And in this case, it was almost poetic. There was a moment, a tiny, barely noticeable moment, when both of them seemed to glance in the same direction at the same time. Not at each other, but toward the stage, toward the world that once brought them together. It lasted only a second, but for those who caught it, it was beautiful. It was a reminder that they once shared something real, something kind, something hopeful. Even if the story changed, even if the path shifted, the memories still had a gentle glow
Nearby whispered
around
that
them.
the energy slowly warmed as the night went on. What started out as carefully monitored seating eventually felt like any other finale night. Joyful, emotional, exciting, and celebratory. All the early tension evaporated, replaced by laughter, applause, and happy chatter. And through it all, Gerry and Theresa stayed composed, each embracing the evening in their own style. Theresa leaned into conversations, flashing her bright smile, making others feel welcome and seen. She had the ease of someone who wasn't haunted by the past, but grateful for the lessons it left behind. Her happiness wasn't an act, it was genuine, a quiet kind of freedom. Gerry leaned into the support beside him, showing kindness, warmth, and a level of calm that made everything around him feel grounded. He wasn't overshadowed by his history. He was simply a man enjoying a meaningful moment in a place that once changed his life. Two different energies, two separate journeys, one shared night. There's something romantic, not in the lover's sense, but in the storytelling sense, about two people who once loved each other deeply, now being able to exist gently apart. It speaks to the resilience of the heart, to the possibility of fresh starts, to the beauty of endings that don't need bitterness to feel real. It would have been easy for people to interpret the situation as tension, drama, a feud. But if you looked closely, that's not what was happening at all. What happened was simple, quiet, mature, healthy. Two individuals showed up, held their boundaries, honored their comfort, and allowed each other to have their own space. And maybe, in its own way, that's the most romantic ending possible. Because romance isn't just about falling in love. Sometimes it's about letting go with grace, respecting the past, embracing the present, and letting distance be peaceful instead of painful. As the night grew closer to its end, the atmosphere softened completely. No more guarded energy, no more subtle tension, just the gentle hum of a successful finale coming to a close. Someone backstage even joked that the crew had stressed themselves out more than Gerry and Theresa ever did. If you could have seen the sighs of relief from the staff, you would think they had just negotiated world peace. But the truth is, nothing dramatic happened. Nothing uncomfortable. Nothing explosive. Just two former partners carrying themselves with dignity. Theresa left the event smiling, confident, lighthearted, like someone stepping into a beautifully calm chapter of her life. Gerry walked out with the same steady warmth, anchored in his present and ready for whatever comes next. And in that simple, quiet exit, Their story found its final, gentle punctuation mark. Not a period, not a question mark, not an exclamation. Just a soft, peaceful ending. A reminder that not all love stories end the way fairy tales do, but that they don't make them any less meaningful. Sometimes the magic lies not in staying together forever, but in learning, growing, and evolving into the next version of yourself. And maybe on some deeper level, Gerry and Theresa did give the world a happy ending, just not the one people expected. They showed that love is still worth chasing, that connection is still worth celebrating, that even temporary love can change your life forever. Tonight wasn't about separation. It was about peace, freedom, clarity, and honoring the journey that brought them here. Their paths have diverged, but their story, in its own quiet way, still matters. Thanks for watching Golden Bachelor. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next big story.